Welcome to Used and Abused, a music podcast. This is just giving me an overview kind of what the podcast will be about. Really, what all this podcast is music I've listened to, albums, really mainly albums I've listened to that I've used and I abused. Most of the stuff I abused was when I was a younger kid into my teenage years. Prime example, on the actual cover of, or the picture of, that's for this podcast, is an Elvis Presley record that I have had since I was, gosh, a child. And as you can see, that record has been beat up. The edges of that has been beat up. The record itself has been cracked. It's been scratched. It got abused by a young kid. I have a cassette tape. Uh, One cassette tape, Beverly Hills Cop soundtrack. You can't even read what's on the cover or on the. You can't read the tracks on the cassette because they faded off because I constantly listen to that album. I'm gonna go through these albums. I'm gonna go through the tracks. I'm gonna listen to the tracks again. I'm gonna write notes about each of the tracks, regardless of a band or even if you feel an album is filled with filler. Example being Motley Crue's Theater of Pain. The band has even come out and said that is a almost complete filler album. But there are songs on there that are considered filler, but I like them. Uh, two two of the songs, example off that album is "Keep Your Eye on the Money" and "Fight for Your Rights." I will talk about each of these albums. I will talk about what I hear, and once in a while we'll have special guests come on. Now they're not gonna be celebrities. They'll include my wife, my kids, um, other members of my family, even people I've met through other podcasts. And as things take off, and we get more and more fans with this, if we get more and more fans with this podcast, then I'll do the same there. I'll be willing to bring people on. If you have an album you want us to talk about, let's talk about it. I'll listen to something and give my opinion of it. Of course, it'll be my opinion of listening to it for the first time if I'd never heard it. Or it could be like Cinderella's Long Cold Winter album, where in my younger years, I could not stand, in my teenage years, I couldn't stand the song Long Cold Winter. Yet, as an adult, I like that song. And that's going to be a thing too, is for me, is I'm going to be able to go back and listen to old artists in their first albums and see if there's now maybe songs on there I now like compared to when I was a teenager. Tastes change. We change. We're always changing. Now, this isn't going to be politically correct because I don't care about being politically correct. I'll tell you if I think an album sucks. I'll tell you if I think the artist sucks. If you like something and I don't like it, hey, guess what? That's what's great about everything. It's my opinion. It's your opinion. But we'll talk about it. Why do you love it? What's the best? If especially if you are on the podcast that day, I'll find out why you like it. But again, that will be later on. So really what this is be my opinion on art, on bands and albums, music. As far as what music will I cover, I talked about Motley Crue. I've talked about Elvis Presley. I like country. I like pop. Now, do I care for some of the pop today? Probably not. Is it because I listen to it and just don't like it? Not really. I've listened to a little bit here and there. But again, I would be willing, if somebody wants to do, a Lady Gaga album, I'll listen to it. and I'll give you my full opinion of it. Again, that'd be an opinion on listening to it the first time, where a lot of these albums I'm going to talk about on this podcast are going to be albums I've heard since I was 3 years old. And that sound, if it comes across, unfortunately, it's like 20-mile-an-hour winds today, and that's my carport sound like it's ripping apart. Anyways, I hope you like this podcast. I hope you will subscribe to this podcast. This is called Used and Abused. It's a music podcast. And let's just have fun and listen to music the way it's meant to be. If it's an album, listen to the full album. Don't listen to the hits. Because sometimes you might find a gem on an album or a song on an album that, guess what? It wasn't made into a video. It wasn't released for radio. It wasn't a hit per se. But who cares? If you like it, then it's a hit to you. There's a lot of songs that weren't released. I mean, I'll admit Motley Crue's my favorite band. There's a lot of songs by Motley Crue that are released on their albums that were never released as singles that I love. And I think they're better than a lot of their friggin' music videos or their singles. But again, that's just my opinion. And there's a lot of people out there who only like the hits, the songs that were released as videos and singles. Again, that's your opinion. That's all this is my opinion. My opinion on these records, on these albums, on music. But if you love music, like I love music, then hopefully we'll have a great time and we'll be able to increase our knowledge of different artists. So hopefully you'll come along with me on this journey through not only the music I used to listen to, but I'm also going to listen to newer stuff. I might even, will even at one point get where I bring on other, try to bring on some unsigned artists, maybe for mini episodes in the middle of the week, where we talk to guys who don't get an opportunity to be signed to, the big record companies, but they're out there releasing their stuff on SoundCloud, Reverb, and all the different stuff. We're going to bring some of them on and talk to them. Again, this is just what this is going to be. It's going to be a music podcast, and I would love to help the little guys, the unsigned artists, get noticed by you guys or by people out in the world. And if I can help that way, hey, I'll be happy. Again, I hope you tune in. This will at least be a weekly podcast. Normally, hopefully, be thinking, not really figured out a day yet I want them to drop, but at least Thursday or Fridays might be a great option to have them released Friday after or morning, in the morning or something like that. Anyways, I hope you listen. I hope you come along on this journey. Used and Abused can be found on Twitter at usedandabusedpod.com. Oh wait, I'm sorry, not .com. Used and Abused Pod. Also, I do have a YouTube page where I will upload just a little bit of video from each podcast. I'm not going to do every podcast, okay? All podcasts are not going to be put on there. I'll probably, have more videos of music I listen to, obviously just our music videos that are on YouTube. So please, I hope you come along with me on this journey. It should be an interesting journey. And we will talk about music. Well, I hope you all have a great, wonderful weekend. And until the first episode, keep rocking.